What are you guys all doing here?
Pilot training.
It's like pilot training?
Yeah.
Are you guys? Where are you guys from?
China.
China. How long have you been here?
Almost around 500 days.
Yeah. 500 days. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is it just for like civilian training, or are you with the?
No, for the airlines.
500 days. Holy man.
While we were interviewed with this school, they were telling us around 15 months or 18 months.
Yeah.
But right now, I've already been around 500 days.
500 days.
And we have a group of students that going back home. They spent 32 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Surely they have planes to train with in China, so I don't know what the rationale is there. Now, we have been getting tips, as you mentioned, from people saying that there is government contract somewhere, that there's multiple bases. We won't say where yet because we don't want to let them know that we might be coming. Keean might be coming after you. But there appears to be multiple places in Canada where hundreds and hundreds of Chinese nationals are going to get pilot training. Now, obviously, we don't care if they're Chinese or what have you. It's the government we care about of China, who's a communist government, not a good one in terms of human rights, sending people over. And you know, Keean, if you're China and you are getting to send hundreds of people to fly, to take pilot school, if that's what you call it, in another country, you're sending probably people who are going to try to steal some secrets, who are going to try to do some other stuff. I mean, we are like a week removed from the Chinese spy with Eric Swalwell and a giant network of Chinese spies being exposed in the United States.
Yeah, you're right. I think that people are dramatically underestimating how much of a menace China is. Now, there's nothing against the people of China, generally speaking. I mean, you know, some of them may be spies. I think the majority of them aren't. But it only takes one, right? It only takes one to give a secret to China that impacts our national security or the safety of, you know, thousands and millions of Canadians. Justin Trudeau training the Chinese military on how to best kill us in the cold weather. Now we're training their pilots. They say to fly airlines, but really, what's the difference between flying a 747 full of passengers or a 747 full of soldiers? It just strikes me as surprising that this is going on and nobody was really aware of it outside of the people in the immediate vicinity of the community who just accepted it as normal. But I was talking to Ezra yesterday about this, and I thought to myself, you know, like, there was a time before World War I and World War II where it was acceptable to have good diplomatic relations with the Germans, and it was acceptable to have Germans come and learn how our military worked, and you know, that sort of thing. And then there was a time when that was suddenly unacceptable, and I think that was, you know, maybe before World War I, that was probably obvious to people in Canada, and I think we're approaching that point with China. I'm not saying that we're going to have, you know, some sort of nuclear World War III, but there's a point that with their military projection in the South China Sea. I just think that it's surprising at this point that we're still allowing them to run all over us and use our facilities and use us to train them in a way that is just a threat, an obvious threat to our national security.
I mean, there are people who are complaining, saying, oh, what's the problem with having Chinese soldiers over here? Well, do you want North Korea here? Do you want Russia here? There are some people who are, whether you want to believe in this one world fantasy, which I know a lot of people do, there are people who are enemies, unfortunately. And I think the closest you can get to having people who are over, who are allies, who you probably don't want here, is Saudi Arabia. Now, referring back to the ChinaFiles.com, if you haven't seen that, go watch those. They stopped the exercise from happening. Trudeau government wanted to continue. They complained, they cried as they would. But they still did have officers observing things and doing classes. Now, I saw one of the pictures that Ezra Levant retweeted from the Canadian Army in 2017, where they're posing with the Chinese officer and he's getting an award, or he's giving them an award, whichever it is, those two guys in the photo with the Chinese officer, they were in charge of me when I was in the military. Believe it or not. So I am quite disgusted. And I know that at my regiment there, if you have a Chinese officer walking around or a Chinese soldier walking around, you give him any time alone. Let me just, without revealing too much, let me just say that it wouldn't be too hard or too difficult for a person to snap photos, to go around and see what's going on. Maybe, like, think of the stuff that James Bond would do, except much less security watching him. You could go take pictures, you could go plug in a USB stick. It really wouldn't be that hard. So I am, and I wouldn't normally say this, but I'm disgusted at the fact that nobody had a problem with this. At least people higher up in our military did have a problem with it, but the fact that they had people in the Toronto Military School there and then in CFB Petawawa is, I would go as far to say, disgusting and shouldn't be allowed at all. So,
What are you guys all doing here?
Pilot training.
It's like pilot training?
Yeah.
Are you guys, where are you guys from?
China.
China. How long have you been here?
Almost
Around
3 years.
500 days.
Yeah.
500 days, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is it just for like civilian training or are you with the
No, for the airlines.
500 days? Holy man.
This
Still
well, we were interviewed with this school. They were telling us around 15 months or 18 months.
Yeah.
But right now, I've already been around 500 days.
500 days.
And we have a group of students that going back home. They spent 32 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's like this little enclave of China in the middle of nowhere, Alberta, just like it's south of Red Deer in this place called Springbrook, which was the former Canadian Forces Base, Penhold. So, yeah, I mean, it is weird that they're all learning how to fly planes and are all sort of have this little community around this area that used to be super well known for its participation in NORAD's long-range radar systems and was training our pilots so many years ago. I'm sure China has a lot of interest in what's going on there or what did go on there. And the fact that there are hundreds of Chinese nationals there learning, I think Albertans deserve to know that. And why wasn't that even mentioned in the CBC, even in passing? You know, I find it very surprising.
I assume that their counter argument would be, oh, they were just trying to make money. Chinese company offers you $100,000 to train your people, and you're like, okay, it's not my job to make sure they're up to no good, but it is the government's job to make sure that Chinese companies are often quite shady, is my point here. So you can't just expect it to be all honky-dory. Now, one of the criticisms I also saw about the Chinese troops training in Canada was that they have winter there, they have more mountains than us probably, why would they need to come here? What some people do not understand is the training they have is most likely very poor. Not that they have poor equipment, because they have the money to spend it. I mean, their jets are going to be worse than America's jets. All that sort of stuff is going to be worse. But the training is something that they might not have got. And particularly winter survival training is something that Canada's been doing for, I don't know, probably like 60, 70 years at this point. And also things like formations, making leaps and bounds, stuff that people learned during the Cold War when they were training to fight Russia is stuff that Chinese military might not necessarily know. And when they're getting into these conflicts in mountain zones with India or whomever else, maybe Korea in the future, this is stuff that they're going to want to know. And it's no secret that China likes to steal military secrets.
Oh, hi friends. What you just saw there is a clip from our Rebel News daily live stream show. It's fun, it's fast, and it's completely unscripted, so you never really know what you're going to get. Just go to rebelnews.com/livestream to sign up for special alerts for when we go live.